Hi everyone, right, so it's nearly the end of 2018, moving on to 2019. What I want to do is try and get a few more videos out of a few processes of what I'm doing during my knife making. So what I'm going to start off with is showing you how I make up some blocks for making handle material out of. So basically I'm going to show you, it's sometimes they call it scrap wood, hybrid materials, so it's a combination of either wood or another organic material with an acrylic as well. So I've got a couple of examples using the wood and acrylic. Also using the ones that I'm going to do tonight is a pine cone one in a resin material. Right, so the resin that I'm using is Alumilite, so Alumilite CLEAR. I've got this from Metal and Clay, a company that are importing it from America. I'm sure there's some other materials, other resins that you can use, but I've just seen a lot of this used on other YouTube channels, so I thought I'll give it a go. Basically it's a two-part resin, equal parts via weight, and you add in some sort of colouring. This particular one I want to make a silver block with a pine cone in, so I'm using a mica powder, just add into the actual resin itself, mix it up, and then I'm going to be setting it into the block. So the mould that I'm going to be using is in the oven at the minute, along with the pine cone that I'm going to be using that's actually inside the mould itself. So you need to warm them up. I've got it warmed up to about 65 degrees centigrade. That prevents the actual resin, when you pour it on the inside of it, starts setting, creeping away from the corners. If it's too cold, it'll creep away. So if it's nice and warm, you get a nice square block once you're finished. So I'm going to mix it out. Like I say, what you need to do is measure it through equal parts. So I know that the block that I'm going to be using with the pine cone in, I need about 210 grams each of the part A and part B. So this is the slow mixing, the slower setting resin. So I've got about 12 minutes mixing time. Put that into the block, into the mould, put the mould back into the tank. So this is going to be pressurised, so once it's pressurised then I can get that set. It's supposed to be about 2 to 4 hours for demoulding, but generally I'll leave this overnight, and what I'll do is we'll take it out tomorrow and we'll see how it's turned out. Cut it down, split it down the centre so we can see the actual pine cone in the inside. So first thing to do is to measure it out. So now that with that in the actual my mixing cup, what I'm going to do is add some of the powder to it. So give it a couple of scoops. Don't really need a great deal of this stuff to actually make a decent colour out of it. That might even be a bit too much, but we'll see where it comes out at. So mixing stick, start stirring. There we go. As you can see, it's now starting to change. Mixing quite well, just give it plenty of stir. So like I say, we've got 12 minutes before this starts to set, so we're alright for the time being. Just make sure it gives it a good stir around. It doesn't matter if you get a lot of air bubbles into it, because when you pour it into your mould and then put the mould into the pressure pot and increase the pressure on it, all the bubbles that are in there shrink. So therefore it ends up being one solid block. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that colour. Right, move stuff out of the way. Right, so when I've been pouring it in, one thing I've got to be careful of, even though I have mixed it up and I've pressurised it, occasionally if there's a big air bubble that's sort of like got in between the actual pine cone, I've noticed I have got some little gaps in some of them. So ideally you end up pouring from one side and let it just leak in all the way down. So make sure the pine cone's in the centre, and then I'll just pour it in. Just nice and steady, so it's not too much to get any air gaps in there. And what I've done with my last one, if I pour it in at the front, it seems to get in between all the actual parts of the pine cone a lot better. But you do notice when the actual mould itself is warm, that the resin itself will become a little bit more runnier. So just make sure the pine cone's in. The pine cone itself has been stabilised, so that'll allow that to be a bit more water resistant. There we go, last of the resin inside. Right, so the pressure pot itself, I put a board into the bottom of it because it's a bit curved, just to flatten it off. Just get that a bit of a tap against, just to make sure that you can get out as many air bubbles as possible. Place it on the inside of the actual pressure pot. Something else that I do, I've got a board that I use as a baffle. So once I put the lid on, pressurise it up off the compressor, it doesn't spray the resin all over the place. So tighten it all up. Make sure it's all on. And pressurise. Valve's going up. I've got it to around 60 psi. Once we're about there, it's not too bad. Close it off. Valve's off. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is put this into my warming cupboard, just to keep the tank warm and prevent it from getting too cold. And hopefully tomorrow we should have a pine cone set in resin. Right, so that's it. The mould's been in the tank for over 24 hours actually. So now it's just time to release the pressure and we'll see what we've come up with. So there we go. I think that's come out alright. Now we're just going to demould it and see what the rest of the block's like. So the last thing to do with these, take a few photos, send them over to a customer. If he likes them, they'll be going on to one of his knives that hopefully I'll be able to show you soon. Other than that, please go and have a look at my Facebook page and my Instagram page. Like this video, please subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. And other than that guys, I'll see you later. See ya.